Let us begin.
Oh, yeah.
Ready?
I kind of wish I
Hello there.
wanted to do that.
My name is Oscar Jordan, and welcome to the AMP Show. This is the 12th annual AMP Show.
Yeah.
Players Paradise, put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Come on in, folks. Don't be shy. Come on in. Come on in. We got plenty of seating. My name is Oscar Jordan. I'm the gear editor. I am the reviewer. Hey, there's Lance. I'm the reviewer, interviewer for Vintage Guitar Magazine, also a talk show, Oscar's Guitar Shop, and among other things, I teach, blah, 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 blah. I'm just so glad that you guys could make it. And we're going to talk about artistry. We're going to talk about gear. We're going to talk about how to better yourself and get some tips about how to maneuver through the industry. So I'm going to introduce everybody. These are very, very cool people, and I handpicked these people because I just wanted them here. These are some of my favorite guitar players here, and that's why they're here. And I'm very glad that Lonnie Spector allowed me to do this, because I used to do this on my radio show, but having a real audience and talking and interacting, that's just more fun for me. So we'll begin. Nili Brosh honed her musical powers at Berkeley and has played with such heavy hitters as Guthrie Govan, Pat Travers, performed in Iron Maiden, Van Halen tribute bands, and toured as a member of the Tony McAlpine Band. Her second solo record, A Matter of Perception, was one of the finest prog metal records of 2014. And I know because I heard it. Give her a big hand. Yes. I'm a Nili fan. Count me in. Carl Verheyen, he's the man. He's my guitar teacher on TrueFire. Because Special Weapons and Tactics, he teaches a course on TrueFire that I just bought like a couple weeks ago. It's a really great instructional video, and I really recommend it on TrueFire.com. Guitar Player magazine called him one of the top 10 guitar players in the world. He's played with such diverse artists as Dolly Parton, Little Richard, Stanley Clarke, Christina Aguilera, the Bee Gees, that's the short list. And his soundtracks include Unusual Suspects, Star Trek, Happy Days, that's just a short list, and he's one of my faves. He's also the touring guitarist for Supertramp, and his new album is called The Grand Design, and I was listening to it just this morning, and it's really, really a fine album. Congrats, man. Give him a big hand. Yeah. And my newest friend is Al. I've been stalking Al over the internet for a while now in videos and stuff. Berkeley grad. Joined Jam Track Central's artist roster in 2013. He's been kicking ass ever since. He's got more chops than a butcher shop. And his first solo record, Out in the Open, has received great reviews. His progressive soloing masterclass instructional video series on Jam Tracks is state-of-the-art instruction in melodic metal improvisation. Hey there, come on in, have a seat. Welcome. Warren is my new roommate. He just moved in with me. He's my roommate for 2 days, thank God. And he's leaving, but he's from West Virginia. Warren Hughes is a classically trained guitarist with an academic cred from West Virginia's University's Classical Performance Program. He's merged his passion for guitar with a strong work ethic to become one of the most viewed guitarists on social media. His self-produced diabolical shred-tastic videos have been viewed by millions and have attracted some of the most cutting-edge companies in the guitar industry. Give them a big hand for these guys. Warren, Shredmaster General. Brian Kahanek, I just found out about him, and I've been listening to all his stuff all week. Great guitar player, mixing blues, southern rock. He's a live performer, session cat, solo artist. His current solo record, Rise to Shine, is where he finds the sweet spot between blues, rock, and serious slide guitar. As a sideman, he's played with Tim McGraw and some of the biggest record labels in the American and Latin American markets. Give all these guys a big hand. Yes, very cool. Thank you, folks. So I want to just start off with just a general question. You guys have been playing for a while now. Was there like a defining moment where it just clicked in your head and you said to yourself, I'm going to be a professional guitar player? Is there just a specific moment in your head? Al, let's start with you. Use a mic.
Yeah. I mean, there was I would say more so there was a defining moment when I decided I'm just going to do this forever and not stop as long as I don't get my hands cut off or anything like that, any accidents, you know. So yes, to stay healthy, stay playing the guitar for as long as I can, and then, you know, just try to get out there in front of as many people as possible.
Was there an incident though, or something you heard, or someone you saw that inspired you?
Yeah, Dream Theater. We were, my brothers and I grew up playing prog together, so we were actually flying out to a convention in Florida to play in front of thousands of people. It was like some kind of competition or whatever. But I don't know, we were amped up. I had been hearing about Dream Theater and just weird name for a metal band, this kind of thing. Went to Gallery of Sound, bought a DVD, popped it in. My eyes were this big, you know. I couldn't believe music could be played that way, so ever since then. Yeah.
Wow, very cool, very cool. How about you, Brian?
I think for me it was, I'll show my age here, is I saw the Police. It was the Synchronicity tour back when I was in high school. And when Every Breath You Take came out, that guitar line that Andy Summers did on that tune just blew me away. And I couldn't figure out, I'd been playing some, you know, regular cowboy chord stuff. And when I saw that and I heard that tune, I just had to figure out what he was doing, how he was doing it. And obviously the Beatles, too, were a big influence. Revolver, Rubber Soul, the guitar tones on those records, it just lit me up. And I was air guitaring when I was like 5 years old. But when I saw that video of Andy Summers, it just, you know, that kind of clicked in me. And I never didn't go to prom. I didn't do any of that in high school. I would just lock myself in my room. And then, you know, I heard Hendrix, and that just kind of blew my mind at that point. I was like, I couldn't figure out what he was doing, and I wanted to just spend my life trying to figure out and get better in guitar and explore music, and not just guitar, really. And then I was in a guitar contest in college, and it was the Hard Rock Cafe out in Dallas, Texas. And I won that contest, and at that point, I just kind of figured, you know, I mean, you know when it bites you, and you know when you want to keep playing guitar for the rest of your life, and it is, you don't need a therapist. The guitar is the therapist, and that just kind of, all the problems I had in my life and all the things that were going wrong or great, it always reflects back, and it is my best friend, and always will be. Other than my wife, she didn't hear me say that. So, but I think that's really it. The guitar is it's the best friend, and it's the best therapy you can get, music especially. So yeah, that's it, man. Yeah.
Well, for me it was, I have an older brother who plays guitar, and I wanted to be like him, but of course I always loved music, and when I heard Nuno Bettencourt for the first time, that's when I decided that I wanted to play electric guitar. I just thought it was so cool the way he mixed funky rhythms with, you know, heavy rock and stuff. But as far as being a professional musician goes, it's been said that you should only do it if you can't feel like you can do anything else. So I think when I realized that, you know, you're doing it because you have to, and there's no option, and that's what it was for me.
Did you ever feel like a desire to go into accounting or banking or anything like that?
Not yet, I guess.
Yeah, there you are. So, I mean, seriously though, was it really clear? I mean, were you just like, this is it?
I think it was clear that when, you know, there are no other options, it's kind of like process of elimination.
Right. I got you. Thanks. Carl?
Okay. I started playing in 1965 when I first heard... Well, probably before that, I was listening to a lot of surf music because I grew up in L.A. and we had TV shows on Channel 5 and Channel 9 that were surf shows after school, and they had all that great reverb-drenched Fender guitar sounds. And then I heard Roger McGuinn of the Byrds playing Turn, Turn, Turn and Mr. Tambourine Man, and I got my first guitar and my first lesson on my 11th birthday. And I said, all right, I'm going to do this. This is it for me. So I'm a rare case that said I'm going to be a guitar player from the very jump, right on day one.
and was it that clear? I mean, it was.
But my cousins were three older, beautiful babes, and they had pictures of the Beatles on their ceilings and everywhere. And I go, man, I want that job, you know. So anyway.
And then, so will you say the Beatles? That
was
like
of course,
the launching?
Yeah. My buddy Grant and we know every Beatles song. He knows a few more than me.
Oh, hey, man. It's good to see you, man.
So, anyway.
Wow. Very cool. Hey, so Warren, tell me your story.
Well, me being from the country, I remember back in the 70s, my uncle took me downtown with him to a record store. Remember record stores?
Oh, yeah.
And he bought the first Van Halen album. I think I was probably 7 years old at the time. And, you know, he had some of those big 70s headphones, and, you know, he put those headphones on my head, and I picked up that record cover, and I started looking, and I heard the guitar playing, and it was just like, it was unexplainable. You know, it just, I don't know, it just sent chills through my body, and I couldn't stop looking, and I couldn't stop listening. And, you know, farther on down the road, when I turned 17 years old, he was stationed out in Spokane, Washington, and the Monsters of Rock was coming with Van Halen, Doc, and Metallica, and the Scorpions, and, you know, this was the first concert I'd ever went to in my life. And, you know, I remember just seeing that and seeing George Lynch play and Eddie Van Halen play in the same day, and I was just like, and that summer he rented me a Kramer Stryker 100 ST and a Rockman Soloist. And the next day after the concert, I was flying back to Virginia, and once I got back home, nobody saw me. I locked myself in the room. My friends thought I was weird, you know, and that's it, man. I just knew that I just wanted to do that so bad, you know, and that's how I got started.
Yeah.
So,
That was it, huh?
that was the defining moment. So
There you go. Great. That's good. So getting on to the main topic here, I just wanted to kind of introduce everyone so you know what they're all about. We're living in really interesting times now where it's no longer enough to just be a guitar player. You have to juggle balls. You got to wear different hats. A lot of you guys are producers, teachers, social media savvy videographers. There's a lot that goes into that. Can you tell me about some of the tools you use, Al, to kind of do all of that together? There's a business. We live in a tech savvy world, you know.
Yeah, I guess the whole thing kind of gets you into it. You know, you see what all the other guitar players are doing nowadays. For me, it was like a step-by-step thing. It was, you know, I was sitting there with my iPhone. Maybe I'll post a video, you know, so hit record, find a way to prop it up against something else, you know, against a little speaker or whatever. And then, you know, I'm reaching out to Jam Track Central, fast forward, you know, and they're telling me I got to buy all this stuff. I got to buy this camera. I got to buy, you know. So, I mean, it's kind of like one step after another. You kind of get into it. But, yeah, you have to know how to work a camera. You have to know how to edit video. You have to know how to use various social media mediums. So, I mean, if you're into it, you know, it kind of teaches you what you need to do gradually.
And you also have to be a recording engineer.
Yeah. So I've been doing that for years prior. So yeah, thank God for that, man. Because, but yeah, I mean, that's a process in and of itself. You know, luckily with Jam Track, I get to put out a lot of content. So you know, if I don't like my mix, it's fine. I get to do another, you know, master class or something like that. You know, but yeah, it's a learning process for sure.
What do you think is like the number one skill that you would have to learn after guitar playing for the whole thing?
All of it. like
Yeah.
I mean, videos, a little bit of engineering, at least knowing how to throw a backing track into a session and record guitar to it and use different guitar software and things like that, you know. It's getting really digital now, so, you know, you can't really like light up a 100-watt amp in an apartment, you know, especially in the middle of the city or even in a small town, you know, like Van Nuys, you know, it's hard to do now. So you got to know how to use digital mediums. Yeah, for sure.
Also, with the internet, knowing how to get more hits and put it out there.
Yeah, I'm working on that. I mean, it's some people are, you know, you can contact people who are specialized in that too. You know, you can always work with a promoter. You know, so that's kind of what I'm doing right now. You know, because I'm not good with the algorithms and the this and that. When do I post this? And I just post it whenever I feel like it, and, which is cool. But now, you know, there's a math to it. You know, there's a skill. So.
Right. Yeah. I got you. Carl, how about you? How's that affected you in terms of you? Incidentally, if you get a chance, go to Carl's website. It is the coolest website. It just looks so lush.
Wow.
There's these cascading images of him in the studio, and it's got quotes. It's just, you know, if you're 5 seconds and you got what he's about, and that's kind of the way social media is trying to get as much information in the shortest amount of time. And this is the world we live in.
Well, my deal is I've got people for that. I'm like you, Al. I'm like Al. I don't want to do it. I mean, I'm not too into it, and but I know it's a part of the thing. And as far as the other skills, I look at it like I've spent all these years learning to be the best guitar player I can, and not a recording engineer. So I want to hire a guy to come to my house and be that recording engineer who spent that amount of time putting mics in front of my amps and getting a great sound out of my acoustic instruments and everything else. I would much rather pay that guy $50, $75 an hour, whatever he charges, $50, $75, $1. No, just kidding. And you know, just have that expert work with me as opposed to it. Now, can I put a track into a file into a Pro Tools thing and record and send it to somebody? I can, but for the most part, I try to hire somebody to do that. And you know, I'm at a stage in my life where I can do it and afford it and build that into whatever budget there is. But I'm sure for players starting out, you're going to need to know how to be a recording engineer too. So.
Do you ever do any sessions where they just send you the backing tracks and they say to do it at home and fly?
Yeah, I just did one for somebody in Lexington, Kentucky, a goth record. It was fun. I was Ethereal Man for about 2 days. I wore a cape, a big E on the back. Yeah. So, and the TV show Lost, they used to send instead of making me have to sit through the entire orchestra session, they'd send a guy over with a laptop and the music, and I'd do the session remotely from my house, and they'd fly that into the TV thing. Otherwise, I'd be looking at tacit sheets for 3 hours before I played one little mandolin part or something. So,
yeah, that's cool.
So that was a nice, because they were recording in Alhambra, and that can be a long drive from where I live.
Yeah, that's very cool. Thanks, Nili. One of the cool things when Nili's second solo record came out, she was smart enough to do a documentary about the making of it, and you know, it just was all over social media, and it was just really interesting to see her process and how she put these really cool songs together, and the thought and the passion behind it. And I thought that was a really great idea as a nice companion to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of the whole album making process, was that documentary. Because I got to tell the story, and I felt like, you know, for whoever is interested, I got to tell what that record was about, and it's cool to have a platform for that. For as much as the internet is saturated when we feel like we have to put content out all the time and everything, sometimes the other side of it is that it's really nice to have, you know, that platform to say what you want to say when you feel like you've really got something important, and it's not like, okay, I have to do this content all the time, which is a part of it. But that's the flip side to me. Yeah.
Do you feel pressure to have to wear all these hats and do it well?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a, you know, kind of like a bottom threshold where, okay, I have to be able to do this, I have to be able to do this, but I don't feel like I have to be an expert at every single thing. I think there just has to be a certain amount of, okay, like he was saying, you know, I can play to the track, I can get a good tone, just use my ears. I don't feel like I have to mix everything and master everything, but just do enough so I can continue to do what, you know, we do best.
Yeah, I got you. So, Warren, you are Video Man. Warren is Video Man because that's how I met him. He has not released any solo material as an album, but his videos are just get millions of hits, and it's just tremendous. And I said, who the hell is this guy? And that's how I met him, through like Facebook and YouTube. And that's why I brought him here, because he's built this whole life just from making guitar videos and just blowing your head off. Just explosions and gore and brain matter flying everywhere. What was the process in developing your skill to video and play, and how did you choose songs, et cetera, to do that?
I actually, I got a hold of one of my old guitar teachers, and I was kind of distraught. Where I'm from, there's no bands, no venues, no anything as far as the type of music that I play. And, I asked my guitar teacher, I was like, what can I do so that, people, notice what I do? And he was like, you need to get on social media, make a video. He's like, I don't care if you do it with your iPhone. He's like, make a video and post it and keep posting it. I don't care if people get sick of it. You just keep posting it and posting it and posting it. So I joined over 200 guitar-related groups on Facebook. Wow. And I would get up every morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning and post to every single one of those groups, and, within a couple hours, I would have 6,000 views on a video. You know what I mean? And they would just go throughout the whole day. And by the time I went to bed, it'd be 50,000 or more. You know what I mean? So I just kept, I just kept doing it and making videos and posting and just posting. And I did that for like 2 years.
What were they of?
Just me playing whatever came to mind. Basically I would record some of them were just me playing. And then as I got further down the road, I would make little backing tracks myself and just play along with them, whatever came to mind.
Cool.
Not anything structured, because that's not how I play, and I just would post the videos, and it just ended up,
He's my hero.
I know he's my hero too.
You know what I mean? So
I could never do that.
and like she was saying, I don't have a career in life. I didn't take accounting or anything like that. I always wanted to do music, and I didn't think about a future besides that. So here I am. I'm 46 years old, and that's my passion even right now. So I gotta make it work, So.
Right on.
And obviously, because of this thing's been snowballing, you've upped your game in terms of the technical aspects, internet, engineering, videography.
Right. I mean, my videos are kind of crappy, but it's a work in progress. I'm trying to, get better equipment and use better, recording stuff and, and all that, So it's a work in progress. But as time goes on, it will get better and better and better,
What are your future plans?
My future plans are...
Lunch.
Being that, we're in the age that we are, and that, being in a band would be nice. I would love to do that, but being in the time that we are right now, it seems like representing these companies and getting the product out there, because I look at it like this. More people will see me in a video playing your equipment than if you go on tour all year. And if you go on tour all year, the people in the nosebleed section are not going to be able to see what you're using. So they're going to be like, what's he using? What's he using? But if you look at a video and I'm represented, there it is.
There it is.
There's your audience right there. And that's who's going to see exactly what you're using. Mm-hmm. So that's my goal as of right now until the band opportunity comes along.
Yeah.
Just to keep plugging and keep working until it happens. So,
yeah.
Good answer.
Great. That's a great plan. And Brian.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of stuff. You have a lot of content between your solo work, performances with other people, and the teaching. Is there something particular that's driving all of that, particular talent, or are you just revolving all at once? Is it just coming out?
To me, I call myself an equal opportunity audio and guitar nerd. Whatever, if I can scratch that itch, and I think it kind of goes into what everybody's kind of alluding to, is that we've hit a digital disruption here with the music industry, and and the money's been sucked out for the most part. And so you can't just be a guitar player these days if you're coming up and you're trying to make a living at it. You have to wear a lot of different hats. And so when I first moved to Los Angeles back in '98, I was touring with a band, and they had a major deal, and we were having a great time. It was a really great experience for me. But when I get back off the road, inevitably I'd run out of money, and I have to sell a guitar or something like that to make the rent and those kinds of things. And I got a call from a friend of mine who was working at Disney, and he was a recording engineer there. And he said, hey, man, I know you got a lot of recording chops. Do you want to come work for us? And I got the gig, and it was Disney Character Voices, and I spent 4 years working with them as their main recording engineer. And then I met a whole lot of people through that to start doing film work and film score and sound design and anything that had to make a noise or whatever. And that really has been a deep part of my experience, as a musician, as a creative person. I just don't want to limit myself to just guitar. And I love guitar. It's my main thing. It's what got me into all of this craziness, But the film side of things, I've worked with Disney, Warner Brothers, and quite a few of the different film studios here in town. I do a lot of mixing as well. So that, to me, I'm finding myself in the studio 9 times out of 10 now. And I love to mix as one of my favorite things to do. Besides that, I'd say that as far as guitar-wise goes, I want to play live a lot more than I do, but I find myself, when the checks come in from the studio, it's hard not to want to keep doing that, and doing guitar session work, like online work and things like that. That's what the internet has given us. It's reimagined the whole entire process, and there's no wrong way to go about to do it. Like what Warren's doing down there is exactly right. I mean, whatever works for you, it doesn't matter. The paradigm of the rock star has changed dramatically, and you can be an internet star, and like he said, the guy in the back room, he's not going to know what you're playing unless you're on the internet. So, and I also had a track in the Guitar Hero series back in '06. It's almost been 10 years, but that really, as a guitar player, introduced a wide audience to my music. And so I try to put out solo records as much as I can when I have time. And I just released Rise to Shine 2 months ago, and I'm very fortunate that it's been well received out there, and I had a lot of great experiences going out and recording at Muscle Shoals and doing those kinds of things, and being in the South now. But I think as far as trying to launch yourself as a musician, you have to do it all. You can't say no. You just have to get out there and do it and enjoy it, because I think what Nili said is like you either are going to do this or you're not, and there's no crying in baseball, I guess. Even though there's no money in the business anymore, you've either been bit with the bug or you haven't, and it's just get out there and play and do your thing and be creative and be cool. People always get called back when you're cool, and not hard to work with. So yeah, I think that's it. And it's never been a better time to be a musician or a guitar player as far as the internet. That's what it's given us. But on top of that, it's really hard to make a living, even more so. So yeah.
Yeah. I tell you, I do a lot of some instructional things, and I try to add my own little slant. But I really miss playing on stage, Carl, I mean, we're living in different times, and I guess you either go with it or you don't. But there's just something about just being on stage with people, and just interacting.
I've got 4 tours this year. Did one in May, a festival tour in Europe, then the whole East Coast in June, then September the West Coast, and I leave Tuesday for 6 weeks in Europe again. And I mean, I just love it, It's just there's nothing better than getting to play every night and getting your chops better and better and honing in on things. And of course, for me, seeing the same fans every year, because this will be my 20th year of doing that. But I have to agree, man, you need to have multiple income streams. And I've never done any other job besides play the guitar my whole life. However, you make money off your publishing, off producing, off education, off touring, off selling merch, everything you can, So that's how you pay the pool man.
That's true. That's true. So Al, what's the downside of this kind of guitar in your bedroom kind of that computers are? I mean, in the old days we would just have to go to a club and see what they were doing, but now it's just right here. You lose the sense of immediacy. But is there any kind of downside in your career that you wish that you had to sacrifice or anything like that?
I mean, I definitely like to be playing in front of people way, way, way more. But, that takes planning. It takes patience. It takes knowing people. Things like that. I mean, if you want to come back home, well, if you want to literally come back home after a tour, you know, to a place where you can stay. And, you know, it's tough. Yeah, you have to, you know, you have to manage that. So, like you said, no crying in baseball. Just get it done. You know, I mean, but as far as there being a downside, or even looking at it like it's a downside, I try not to go there. You know, because it's a part of what's going on. You know, so no, I see only upsides to all of this. As long as I'm playing music and getting stuff out there in front of people, you know, I'm not going to complain. But I do want to play more out in front of people. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nili, did you have to? Were there any sacrifices in your life to make your choice? Any downside to your career choice?
To the internet thing, or just
Well, no,
in
just to
general?
deciding I am a guitar player. I am a professional guitar player.
Well, I've never known it any other way, so I guess it's a hard question to answer. But I mean, my situation kind of similar to Al's in the last few years. I think the downside is good luck leaving the house. You know, I've done so much work from home, whether it's recording or Skype lessons or videos or whatever, that, you know, it seems like really attractive in the beginning. But then, you know, working from home in general, when you're there, is a double-edged sword. So it does kind of affect your whole lifestyle, and you have to do your best to shape the stuff around it to make sure that you're staying sane and, you know, being a part of the world and all that. I don't know if you encounter that part of it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Tony will be here next week, so I hope I see you.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
I'm looking forward to that. You guys, do you have any questions you would like to ask? Here we are. It's your big chance. Want to ask a question, Mark? Go right ahead.
With the internet, I started doing stuff kind of early on with YouTube, but then at a certain point, there's so many people doing the same stuff. Do you ever find it difficult to come up with meaningful new content, and are you kind of giving away the cow when you're giving the milk out? I don't know, it's a bad metaphor, but like, but you know what I mean? It seems like at a certain point, like how many times can we do the same stuff and keep people interested and still generate income?
Yeah, Warren, how do you keep it fresh, man?
I keep it fresh by always being myself and playing what's on my heart. You know, that's you know, people are going to recognize that. No matter what style you play, no matter what it is, you know, as long as you're true to yourself and you're playing from your heart, man, people are going to, you know, they're going to enjoy it. So that's what I always do, you know. So.
Brian?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and you can put out a lot of content. There's a lot. How do you keep it not being spam, and how do you not oversaturate and really reach people? And I think you said it best, Warren. I mean, it really is. If you're playing from your heart, and I think also on top of that, keeping things short too, because the attention span is short. So if you keep some things under a minute, 2 minutes, depending upon what you're doing, it tends to play better out there. But I think also on top of that, it's the material you're doing. If you have your own stuff that you're writing and you're composing, and a good way to go about that is just have a backing track, and you're playing over the backing track online. And I don't know, just kind of put it out there, put your personality and your heart into it, and it will separate. The cream will rise to the top in that regard, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that. There's all this saturation. It's saturated with guitar players, but it's like you said. We live in a time where anything you create can be put out there, which is great. And I remember in the 70s, if I can just get it out there, you know. Now we have that, but now, you know, the cream and the you know, and then that's where it is. Carl, how do you feel about that, and content and passion? And
I think that there is a lot of stuff way too much stuff out there, and I think that people are actually getting off of certain guitar players' websites because they're saturated with newsletters and video every day and more stuff, you know. So I can name a guy who's a friend of mine who's kind of overdoing it these days, and I won't say his name, but, you know, so for me, I play enough live that, you know, I can wake up the next morning and watch it on video tomorrow because somebody filmed it, and some of it I wish was not up there, you know, and some of you go, God, I had a horrible night last night, you know, I mean, what am I thinking? But so there's really no editing that. I used to have a manager who would go up online and take people's videos down. And one guy, she took a video down of us playing outside at a festival, and the sound was horrible. So I said, yeah, I'd like to get rid of that. And so the guy wrote back saying, no, this went out in the air, it's public domain. And she wrote back saying, no, it's the intellectual property of Carl Verheyen, and we'll give you one more chance. And the guy didn't take it down, so she got it taken down, and he lost his YouTube subscription with all his family albums and children videos and everything. And so he started getting mad at me, and I said, hey, I got nothing to do with it, talk to her.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's just a weird side of it, huh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Scott Henderson, a friend of mine, I'm a huge fan. I videoed one of his shows, and I thought it was guitar perfection. And then I get an email from his people saying, no, and then it's his work. It's his work. You got to take it down. So I had to do that.
But eventually you stop fighting it.
Yeah, it's his stuff. He has a right to. Al, how do you keep your stuff? How do you distinguish yourself? Because there's a lot of progressive metal guys out there.
Yeah.
And how do you stay fresh and distinguish yourself?
I think it's all about perspective. Like the market's changing, so I've just accepted it. You can just see it snowballing. So you just accept it and you move forward. And like they were saying, just be yourself. Like people who are attracted to your style of playing want to see more of what you do. And you just have to keep doing you. I mean, you can't be afraid of the next guy taking your fans or anything like that. Like the more they have, the more will rush to you, because we're kind of all sharing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I see it as that we're sharing this net. And this to look at it any other way is kind of to go at it with a sense of competition, and I don't think it's about that. I don't feel that way. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, very cool. Any other questions?
Like Carl, a little more old school. There's nothing like moving air with a fan and speakers. We can talk about this before. I know that you guys have to do a lot of stuff in your houses and stuff, and you use a lot of the visual effects. Do you get the opportunity to use an amp and mic it in your house? And if so, how do you get a big sound when you can get real loud? But also too, is the compromise going to digital effects and plugging in direct? Is that okay, or do you find it's short of? Does it work for you, or do you find that it's lacking with using everybody?
I'm gonna paraphrase for the mic, just so that we can all hear. So basically, the question is, do you for home use, do you want to move air, or do you want to plug in to a plug-in? What's your preference, Carl?
I'll start. Okay. Yeah, I would much rather make a record in a real studio that's a tuned room that sounds great, and I can get a distance mic on my sound. Having said that, I do have an 11-rack Pro Tools rig, but I always put small amps and mic them. And I've tried to get the big sound in my house, and I just can't do it. I don't. My living room has a standing wave, in the bass frequencies. My garage doesn't sound that good. Only my bathroom sounds good, and there's a couple of 3 or 4 little combos that work in there. So, but that's about it. So yeah, I'm a big fan of getting into a real studio, and even if it's small amps, Now, having said that, there's certain things that going direct is really good for, certain sounds, and so. Maybe 1 or 2 of those might end up on a record of mine, but for the most part, it's mic to amps.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Warren, what are you using to record?
Right now, I use a Black Star ID 100. It has an emulated out on the back, and I just plug it straight into the mic line. I use Tune Track Easy Drummer. And I usually, I think of drum patterns in my head. I don't hear guitar ever. It's constantly rhythm patterns. So usually I'll make a rhythm pattern, and I'll just sit there and jam on it until I come up with you know, some type of idea, and I just build the song that way. So, I mean, I would love to go into a studio and, you know, have somebody do what they do, because I am by any means, I'm not a studio engineer at all. You know, and I actually hate the whole process of, I really do. I'm just not that guy, you know. So.
Yeah, but your stuff sounds good though, man.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brian, what are you using?
You know, I think that is one of the hardest things to do, especially when you're a 100-watt guy like myself. I love plexis and JTM 45s and stuff that will just get you arrested even at 7 o'clock at night. You know, luckily now I've got a place at home where I've got a basement in the south where I've got, it's an earthen basement. I can crank out, and I've got a 412 and a 212, and I can really let it fly. But that said, a lot of times I've gotten into the reamping situation where I think the UAD plugins, they've done a lot of great work. That plexi from UAD has been a real good tool for me to use, and their 55 Deluxe sounds great, you know. And so what I'll do is, if I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning working on a solo or something, and I'll sit there and I'll lay it down direct, and then I can come out and reamp. And a lot of times the rhythm tracks that I'll do will come out reamped, and I'll just send it down to the basement. I've got everything mic'd up down there. You know, through different kinds of mic pre's and things like that that are my flavors. But it is tough. I mean, because I'm the same way. I like to have a lot of volume and air. I mean, not to say that you need a lot of volume and move air to get great tone, like the small amps and things like that. Everything's got its place. But, you know, on top of that, you can use attenuators, which can be tough. It sucks a lot of tone out, which is challenging. But if you're in the apartment world, which I spent my first 2 records making in the apartment, I had an ISO cabinet from, I think it was Demeter, and I used a THD hot plate, and that was the way I did it there. But it was challenging because you close that top of that lid, man, and you get the comb filtering and all that real boxy, nasally sound. And it just, you know, you can't live with that. So, and I've had a lot of opportunities to be in bigger studios to record as well. And like Carl said, I mean, if I have the option, I want to record in a big studio and have all the bells and whistles and toys, because it is that sound in your head you're going for, and it's the relentless pursuit of that. So, yeah, it's tough. But, I mean, I think going direct now, these guys get great tones going direct, and it's really whatever your voice is. So, yeah.
Yeah. Al, what are you using?
I was using 11 rack for a while. That did well. There's this new company, Positive Grid, that's making stuff. They have the bias head. That thing, I beta tested it. It's amazing. You know, that head, you can. It's 600 watts, so you can plug it into any cab you want to. Sounds like a real amplifier. I mean, they're getting better and better at it. I guess that's what I'm saying. So, but I did grow up playing in real 100-watt tube amps, you know, and like, yeah, you wanna let it rip. You wanna, throw that cab in a room and, hear what's going on through the speakers. But, I mean, then again, there's also getting a recording engineer in there that knows how to, use certain mic preamps and things like that. And like, there's all this tech, yeah, so he knows, yeah. So, I mean, that's hard to emulate by yourself with M audio interface and all this kind of stuff. You really have to spend money to get that to work too. So I think the digital world is doing a good job in catching up with what you can, I guess, emulate from a real amplifier. It's working. I think it's fine. I think you should have both at this point.
Yeah, great. Nili?
Well, I got lucky with my apartment situation, in which I actually do have a tube head and managed to somehow make it work. It's not cranking, but I think sometimes with the right mics and mic pre's, you can get a certain volume where it all somehow works and there's a sweet spot and the neighbors are not complaining. But it might also have to do with the neighborhood that I live in. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but I'm going to try to keep making that work for as long as I can, because I mean the digital things does sound really good and the tones are great, but it doesn't feel the same when you're not pushing that air. So
yeah.
But I agree with having to have both, because sometimes it does save your ass when you need it.
Yeah, good. Okay, anybody have any other questions? As I'm gonna. Okay, go ahead.
Nili had a contest recently through a guitar magazine, and I was just kind of curious how much that helped as far as maybe sales on your album and just general. Are you going to do it again?
I don't know if I'll do it again for a while, because there were so many moving pieces, and I actually worked on it for 2 years, believe it or not, until it happened, because there were just so many people involved. And it was super fun, and really grateful that everybody donated their time. It was really helpful to me. We had about 200 people actually submitting videos, and about I think it was 700 something people actually entering to win a pedal or whatever, and there were some great numbers on it, and I'm really happy that I did it. It was very educational as far as where the guitar world is now. The contest was to write new melodies over a track that I had previously released, so I kind of took away my melodies and kept the track and asked to rewrite the tune, and it was very eye-opening as far as what guitar players are doing these days. So it was very educational for me, and it was cool in that way.
Well, what did you learn in terms of hearing people reinvent something that you started, or reimagine, I should say?
That there's a lot of ways to play over it, I guess. There was a lot of cool stuff out there, and people from all over the world, and I don't know. It was just I just couldn't believe how many takes were on the same thing, where I keep hearing the same thing in my head, But it actually did get me to hear some new stuff, so that was, my greedy part of it.
Great. All right, so we're just about out of time. I want to ask one last question. Top of your head, name one indispensable piece of gear.
Name what?
One indispensable piece of gear
Indispensable
that you own.
piece of gear. Well, I made this Verheyen Frankenstrat. It just has personal attachment. It's not worth any money. I use spray paint from the auto store, but it's just something I personally worked on. It has the cheapest pickup in it, and I looked at it as, Eddie and those guys had, they had garbage basically to work with back then, so if I put a cheap pickup in here, it's really not going to make any difference. But that is the guitar that I will keep for the rest of my life. It just,
That explains why Eddie dropped my Les Paul from 3 feet.
Oh. Wow.
It must have been, he was thinking cheap.
Right.
Yeah. Carl, do you have an indispensable piece of
Oh
gear?
man, I would probably just say the Fender Princeton amp.
Oh, yeah,
Just
that's a
ground
great.
zero electric guitar, and it's where I do practicing and tweaking and tuning with all my instruments and stuff. Black bass. Yeah. Push a reverb.
Yeah.
I have 4 of them, and that's not even enough.
Those are great amps. Neely?
Exotic Effects EP Booster.
Oh, yes, yeah.
It's the make everything
new one
sound
or
better pedal.
The new one?
I have the old one. I haven't tried it. Is it better?
Yeah, Exotic sent me the Scott Henderson one, so it's really nice. Got 2 gain stages. It's very nice.
See, I like that it had one knob. It was so simple. You just turn it on.
Yeah, that's good. Al?
Well, obviously, any of my Ibanez guitars, any of them. I'm not gonna get rid of them. Yeah.
What's your number one Ibanez?
Well, it's my new custom. I brought it with me. Kind of wanted to show it off.
Oh, good.
But I don't feel like I'm gonna sell any of those. Playing those guitars have been really eye-opening for me because I spent most of my life kind of avoiding them. They were the go-to shred guitar. I didn't want to be like everybody else, but as soon as I played one.
That's
What is that? Oh, no, exactly. Yes, yeah, it just draws you in, really. Yeah. It's been years, and like now to be playing them, it still kind of blows my mind,
Yeah,
So,
they're great guitars. Brian?
It's a toss-up. I think I've got a 1971 Marshall Super Lead that I've had for a long time. That amp just has magic to it. It's one of those things where every time I plug into it, it blows my mind how good it sounds. Either that or I've got an old 90s full drive that I've had for a long time, a full tone, and I'm a big fan of their stuff. So I think either one of those two would really be hard to give up. So.
And does the Super Lead come with earplugs, or just...
Yeah, it comes with a call the police, the gate button or
Speed
whatever.
dial.
Yeah, man, it's funny because I got that amp and it was it's purple too, which is my favorite color of custom Marshall colors. Maybe red might be second, but it's like that head is just at that perfect blend. You blend the channels and you can actually get a pretty good sound out of it at a low volume. It's not too bad, but it's got the wing Cs in it and all that crazy stuff. And yeah, if the house burned down, I'd run out with that, and hopefully, and the dog and the cat and my wife. So that's pretty much it. So.
Wow, the order that you chose is very interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's exactly. It's very a little bit selfish, I guess. So
Great.
totally.
Well, hey guys, give them a big hand. This has been great. I really appreciate it. Thanks for everything, guys. You can go to their websites. They have names, websites. Go there, check out their stuff. They have great stuff. They're easy to find. Google is your friend. My name is Oscar Jordan. Thanks for coming out. I really appreciate it. Take care.
Nice to meet you too. Good luck with the